reject any of your information.
Okay, no, that's fine. So can you tell me, this is changing gears completely in a sense, but what I want to know now is what has led your person, so Source A, to think that these beings have our best interests in mind, if indeed he thinks that?
Everything that he's experienced with him, he gets an overwhelming sense of spirituality from the conformers.
Now, how does that express itself? They have a very keen sense of free will.
Very much so. And if he felt that there was a nefarious, or how do I want to say, an ulterior motive to that, I'm sure he would have conveyed that not only during his debriefing, but we would have heard it. He would have said something along the lines that, I don't trust these guys.
But also that was examined in his debriefing. I can't say where, but he was debriefed, and they examined whether or not there was a Stockholm syndrome that happened. And they determined that that was not indeed in place.
I will say this, and I have not commented on the debriefing. He was citing noncompliance, and I can't get into it, guys, but he was citing the noncompliance because essentially he and the other team members were being grilled and handled unfairly. That's all I can say about that.
Grilled and handled by who? By who?
By the powers that be. By the interferons. Remember, they're the go-between the powers that be. We still call those guys powers that be, but they're the go-between. I just want to disseminate. But for the sake of argument, we'll say powers that be. They were handled and grilled and split up, and a lot of things happened in our source. But I've not talked about this. I want to be fair to the Open Minds Forum, and we've kind of discussed that. I don't want to get into it, guys. I'll cause a problem. But that caused a lot of problems where our source literally went apeshit and filed noncompliance over the handling of the team members.
In the debriefing session.
I see. Okay.
That at least alleviated the concern of the powers that be that possibly our guy was suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. They came to the conclusion that that's not true because of our actions, because he fit his psychological profile before he went on the mission. So they realized that he was himself.
He was defending his team members.
So our guy can be quite vociferous and very passionate. But that's important to understand that.
Okay. Okay, now you also talked about the rogue Greys. Okay. Now, how does he know about the Greys? How does he know about that there's a group that's rogue? How has he described this to you?
We know that Source A has never met a Grey. At least that's what he's told us. Okay? So evidently he's got his information from other conduits.
Hold on one second, guys. I'm going to speak to Shawn briefly. One reason he knows about the Greys is one of the team members was abducted by a Grey.
In the past.
In the past. And now this is going to fly in the face of being absolutely nuts and crazy, guys, but here it is. This is what our source said. That this person literally was kicking and shouting and literally urinated on this Grey, which caused evidently some harm to the Grey. And these Greys eventually or immediately took this person back. This is one reason why this one particular person was brought into the program, because of that experience, which means your clearances get upped. You were part of something, and evidently, psychologically and physically, you survived it, so it made you a candidate. So we know the Greys exist. We know that there's...
So that's at least one example why we believe our guy believes
okay.
the Greys exist.
But as far as when you made the comment that they were rogue, where did you get that information?
Well, they refer to them, the working groups refer to them boys in the hood, and that they don't always play by the rules, they play by their own agenda.
Okay.
No doubt. I mean, that's been very clear to us on that issue. Our source has never met a Grey, guys. I want to be clear on that.
Yeah. That
would mean a different program, guys.
I understand. Okay.
And they don't like to cross-pollinate programs because that gives too big of a picture. The powers to be do not want that. However, that's not a hard and fast rule, because if there's the need, then they will up that clearance and they will move you over. But that's not a hard, fast rule. But that tends to be the order of the day.
As a side footnote, I have another individual I'm in contact with. I have not validated whether he's truthful or not, but it's kind of interesting. He says he's been at the Dulce facility. He's only got down to level 2. It was for a security position. He said he actually met a Gray in the Dulce facility. He said they are indeed bio machines, and he was surprised at the fact that the Gray was warm. When he shook his hand, it had a warm feel for it.
Well, I don't want to digress.
So this is just from another source about a Gray, but again, take it with a grain of salt because I haven't been able to validate it. It was interesting that when Greer mentioned that some of these Grays may be
programmed life forms, PLS.
Right. That may be true, it may not be. It's just something to add.
We definitely that's common knowledge, out there.
Right.
There are many different varieties of Greys, so once again, we need to be very careful about who we're talking about. I have 3 questions here, and I just want to flag them, and they're all fairly major. One is, what have you heard from your source that has generated the discussion that leads people to be suspicious about motives and intentions, as you said was reflected or reflective of our conversation with Stephen Greer? The second is, have you heard anything in any of this mix about the Anunnaki, who do seem to be present as far as we know, and fairly major players? And the third is, has the modern mythological 2012 date ever come up in anything that you've heard about either? Those are 3 huge questions.
All right. Let me try to answer that. Let me start from the back. The 2012 date is, we have nothing with our guy on this. Nothing. Okay, that's one.
Okay, that's good.
No, it's just
nothing.
It doesn't mean that he doesn't know anything. He just simply hasn't conveyed anything to us.
Let me elaborate on that a tiny bit here, because although he may not have talked about 2012, have these beings who are coming here and talking about disclosure and interacting and doing this program with your 6 guys, have they talked about, oh no.
Hello.
You there, guys?
Hi, I'm sorry about that. You said you didn't know anything about the 2012 question, and then Kerry was asking something, and I didn't hear what it was.
Okay, it was just an elaboration on that. Have they talked? In other words, he's interacting with these beings on a fairly regular basis, it sounds like. So he must be asking them. In other words, again, this gets back to my question of why they're here. Are they here because of any kind of earth changes or any scenario of that type? Or has your source A asked them about that?
Well, one of the main concerns, if we can say in an anthropocentric view, from what we've learned from our source, is the survival of our planet as a whole, as we as a species and our ecology. That's one very clear message, and that we are going to, at some point in time, and it's not a question of if, it's a question of when, that we are going to experience not only punctuated catastrophes, but an ELE event. Now, keep this in mind. When that happens, we don't know. It may not even be in our lifetimes. Our source says this all the time. However, we are doing certain things to the planet, and I don't want to get into the global warming argument because that's not it. But essentially, resource depletion. The fact is, we're going to have water shortages. A lot of changes are happening, and this is probably natural celestial changes with the Earth. I remember Wilcock was talking a little bit about that, and I was in agreement on, and I can't recall it, but aspects of what he was talking about. So there's earth changes happening. One is that, and this is a very contentious issue, is that we have to not only conserve our planet, but we as a species must stop what we're doing to the planet. We must stop the fighting, what we're doing, the wars. We must realize that we have to find a balance in terms of our population, and that has caused a lot of concern with a lot of people because it reeks of Malthusian, but it's not something that the conformers are imposing. It is a suggestion or warning based on our source's observation that he thinks that these particular entities have witnessed with other civilizations around the universe, or whatever they've studied. So there has to be a balance. We have to find a balance with our population in terms of our growth cycle, in terms of technology, in terms of where we are going as a species. Do you have anything to add on?
Well, also the issue of seeding technology to us to accommodate our needs was brought up in the interaction between humans and this particular ET race, and their position was that they weren't going to seed certain technologies for us to take a population of, say, 7 billion people and knock it up to 12 or 13.
So, in other words, they wouldn't give technology because they want us to limit our population.
They want us to demonstrate that we can stabilize our population, not reduce, but stabilize first, and then that would be assigned to them. That we certainly have a grasp on our place in terms of the ecosystem.
But this is our choice. We have to do it willingly as a species, not because of the control of the power structure who may use certain designs, like for instance NSD-68 or Global 2000 or NSM 200. Those are unacceptable. From what we're getting from our source of what the conformers, they do not accept that we reduce our population through biological, chemical, and nuclear means. That is completely unacceptable.
Okay, we haven't talked about this, but are they technologically advanced?
Absolutely.
Yes, incredibly. Now, something I've said to our source in looking at this, and I think there's a relevance here. How many? I know you folks have seen the movie Contact. Are you familiar with the film, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Many times.
I really think that Sagan and possibly the screenwriter in which Robert Dean talked about, and it resonates. I think in many respects we are dealing with this particular race in that they are cosmic engineers. Now, engineers meaning they look at systems, they look at planets. In other words, they're kind of like, I would think, an ET race that takes Drake's equation, even though that may be antiquated today. But the general concept, and they look at a technologically advanced civilization, and they look at the means of how they're surviving, how fast they're going, and where they're going. Now, one thing that the conformers have noticed about our race, they have never seen a race that has advanced so fast technologically on this planet, and I suspect others, than what the human race has achieved. It is incredible.
Especially over the last 100 years.
And that our source keeps coming back and telling us that they have, in the last 100 years, it's unfathomable. So the question is that will another species take root on this planet that could achieve the same growth and same success as the human race? That is the big question. The consensus is it's 50-50, but I get the feeling that no, they've never seen anything like that.
Well, let's put it in time. Let's put it in the context of an ELE event. Okay, now they're looking at the humanity and say, "Wow, what an innovative species! Do we want to lose it? Do we want to lose this particular race to an ELE event?" Okay, and so they're looking at what human beings can or cannot do. So then there's a debate whether or not they can save an element of us, a genetically stabilized sample of people, over a period of time and reseed the planet later. Okay, they examined that. Okay, and they find it would be extremely difficult to them because we have such we're such a sensitive biological system. They'd have to replicate everything: ticks, lice, bacteria in our intestines that help us to digest food, everything. And they realize that they probably can't do it.
So, in essence, we're so tied to the ecology of our planet, and we're too fragile. Now, I know this flies, guys. I know this flies in the face of some of the other programs and some of the other interactions. And what was it, Bill? You mentioned the transluminal flight. I don't know, guys. I don't know about those programs. I don't know about those ET.
Yeah, programs. I understand that. But okay, this is good information. But what I'm wondering is, you're actually acting as though they've had long discussions and they've put a lot of thought into the fact that we're going to have what you call an ELE event.
Yes. Okay,
but they won't tell you when.
Well, from what we guess is that, from what we understand from our military, is that they can't predict when. They can get an idea within its time frame. And from what I remember, it was either between 10 or 40,000 years within when a cycle would happen. When exactly, I cannot say. But that's not in stone. That's something I'd have to go back and talk to our guy on. But that's roughly the time frame.
There's nothing that's led your source to suspect that there's something that's just around the corner which is operating to motivate all of this activity happening in a hurry.